Welcome into another episode of Popcorn for Breakfast. The year of 2024 in film is in the books, and we have our top 10 lists for you today. Let's get into it.
This is Popcorn for Breakfast, presented by St. Louis Area Smoothie Kings. Now, here are your hosts, Cam and Kirk.
Well, gentlemen, it is that time of year once again where I'm laughing because it's insane that it's another whole year. I feel like I'm living the same day over and over again. I can't believe that 2024 is over in film. We're going into 2025. That sounds like the future to me. 2025 sounds like the future. So I am blown away. And I say gentlemen because our good friend Stefano is here with us once again, which is our favorite thing ever. Welcome, Stefano.
Welcome. Oh my God, I said welcome. Thank
welcome.
you. Yeah, it's like when someone says like, they take your ticket. They're like, enjoy your movie.
You're
too.
like, you too. Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Good.
Thanks for having me, fellas.
Of course, anytime.
And that's all we have from Stefano, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I love it. So yeah, we're gonna talk top 10. We did this last year. It was my favorite episode we recorded all year. We also this year for the first time did what did we do? Top 5 halfway through the year.
Yes.
That was really fun too. So we'll see if there's any repeat picks. This is an interesting year for movies in terms of when movies were released. There were a lot of heavy hitters released earlier in the year, and then of course we get the award season blitz at the end, and we're all three of us, I know, just from monitoring Letterboxd, we're like racing through movies as fast as possible to try to get a grip on everything. But we're going to hop right into it. We're going to do our top 10 movies of the year. And here's how it's going to work. We're each going to go from 10 up, but if any of us have a duplicate, we'll all speak at the same time. So if you watched last year's episode, same format. And then maybe we'll have a few surprises at the end. We could talk about underrated movies. We could talk about worst movies. We could talk about any number of things. But the topic du jour is 2024 movies. Let's jump right into it. You ready?
No, but let's try.
You're never ready for this, but it's okay. Nobody is. All right, let's start with number 10. We'll have Stefano go first, even just mostly because he hates it. So
gosh.
We'll do that.
Yeah. Okay. So I feel like there's a possibility of some sharedness here. So my number 10 of the year is Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. Does anyone else have this in their top 10?
I do.
You do.
I have it at 7.
7. That's pretty close. Kirk?
It was so close, but it did not clear my top 10.
It was a close one for me as well. But yeah, I'll touch on it briefly, and you can touch on it, Cam. I know you have it a little higher up, but Furiosa was such a tough movie to release because the expectations were impossibly high with Mad Max Fury Road. So so many people wanted. We didn't know what we wanted. We wanted the same thing, but better or different. We didn't want the same thing. We wanted something equally as good. And it was dang near close to equally as good. There are different experiences. You can't, while a lot of it might feel the same or look the same, there are such different aspects to it, and they tell quite different stories. So you're able to kind of enjoy them both and not have to compare them. Action was phenomenal. Performances were great. I loved the structure of it. I think that was a huge surprise for me going in, was it kind of being broken out into chapters like that. It was such a good time, and it was criminally underseen. I think we were kind of like tricking ourselves into thinking it would do well because so many people liked Fury Road after the fact, but still not many people went to go see that either.
Yeah. It's a great point. The box office for Fury Road wasn't good. So it was like revisionist history. We're like,
Exactly.
Everybody loves Fury Road. They're going to go see it. But it's like, it's just different. Box office is different.
And last thing, it was also one of my favorite theater experiences. There was this middle-aged man next to me, kicking his feet the whole time. Just so excited by the action. So
just
absolutely.
The joy of it.
Yes. Loved it.
I love it. Yeah, I had Furiosa at 7. I think this is one of those ones where for me, I don't think this movie is anywhere near perfect. I have some issues with it, but what I love is just George Miller just doing stuff, just doing fun things. And I think that's one of the things I really respect about him as a filmmaker is whatever it is, good, bad, or indifferent, it's going to be it's going to be him, and he's going to go out there and put his stamp on it. And I thought Furiosa had just as many, if not more, wins in terms of visually creative things that he did, and creativity from a storytelling perspective as it did Downfalls. And I loved it. It was so fun. I thought Anya Taylor-Joy was awesome. I thought this whole cast was really fun. And yeah, what's crazy about it is, to your point, Stefano, expectations were unbelievably high because Fury Road is one of these movies that comes out of nowhere and everybody's just like, that was perfect. Like everybody's just like, we were all kind of like head scratching about it, but just loving every second of it. And this one somehow is its own thing, but fits perfectly right alongside Fury Road. They go awesome together, but could also just coexist separately too. Like you could love Fury Road and hate this, and this wouldn't ruin Fury Road, and vice versa. Like it's such it's like oxymoronic in that way. Like it doesn't make sense. But I just really enjoyed it, and I I actually last night couldn't sleep. Put it on like the first 30 minutes of it because it's streaming on Max and on Netflix as of today, actually. And I was just like, man, what a fun movie, and a great theater movie, which is why it's such a crying shame that so many people chose to forego the theater experience for this particular movie. So that's why I have it at 7.
I love that thing. If you don't love movies the way that some people love them, like maybe the three of us, turning on Furiosa at 11 or midnight is not calming, but for us it is. So if that's you out there, please join us. I can imagine your wife and mine and Stefano's being like, that's what you calm down with?
Yeah, I get a lot of, what are you watching? It's like 1 a.m. and I'm just like sitting there.
Why are you crying again?
Exactly.
That's right.
So true. Well, Kirk, you're the odd man out without Furiosa on your list. What do you have at 10?
Number 10. I have a documentary at number 10.
Okay.
It is Superman, the Christopher Reeve story documentary. I'm a big Superman fan.
Yes.
I'll even say to Soups directly to his face.
Oh no.
That I'm a bigger Superman fan than you. And why? Why is that? Well, I have daddy trauma. That's why, Soups.
There you go.
I am fast off the train just fighting for it because that quote.
Where are we going? I'm scared.
That quote, the son becomes the father and the father becomes the son, is perfect. It's perfect. I love it. I knew most of the story of the Christopher Reeve story of his rise to fame and his other films and all of the Superman behind the scenes stuff, but I didn't really know a lot about his character as a person before the infamous accident, the equestrian accident, right? And so there's a little bit of turmoil because he's not a perfect person. That threw me through a little bit of a tailspin, but I liked that. I liked and hated it all at the same time, that Christopher Reeve was Superman and is Superman, and most people will proclaim him as the only Superman. I'm looking to David Cornsweet to be a wonderful Superman, but also behind the scenes that he was doing things that are superhuman, like not literally superhuman, actually human, like just life mistakes. And that I was just blown away by the love of his family and how they united around him despite all of these things, and they found a way through it. And in order to do that, each one of them would have to have their own superpowers. So I really, really enjoyed this documentary. I highly recommend it.
That's great. I think you hit us with a documentary last year too, right?
I did. It was about another incredible actor with a terrible circumstances.
The Michael J. Fox.
That's right.
The Michael J. Fox documentary was fantastic. It was so good. And I'm looking forward to this one too. I haven't gotten around to it, but I've heard great things.
Yeah. Same. It's on my watch list. Number 10 for me actually also made an appearance in my top 5 of the first half of the year. And I have to admit, I even rescored this one down a little bit because I thought I was too high on it looking back. It's A Quiet Place Day One. Okay. And it squeaks in here. No one more surprised than me to find this like still on my top 10 list at the end of the year. But as I reflected on it and I rewatched it as well, not too terribly long ago, it's just really well done. And it's a blockbuster movie, and it's got it's tied to a Quiet Place franchise, which again, it's just not something that I expected to be in my top 10, not for snobby reasons, but just because of what it is. But like was so much better than it had any business being, and it's one of the most heartfelt movies of the entire year, with a story between two characters that is truly beautiful and just hits me right in my soul whenever I watch it. And it took that franchise, which was already popular and already had two great installments, and takes it to another level. And while I'm not like clamoring for another A Quiet Place movie per se, like things what they're doing there is remains interesting and well done. So I was thrilled with this movie. Even though I'm surprised to have it on my top 10 list at this point in the year, I'm glad that it is, because I really think that it's one that, again, I don't feel like tons of people are talking about it this time of the year, but it has stuck with me all this time.
Totally, like it's a great contender for like that underrated, one of the most underrated movies of the year. No, yeah, not in my top 10, but I also I loved it a lot. It was really, what I love seeing is, we have a main family that the first two revolve around, but you always consider what are other people going through at that time, and just seeing different characters interact in the world was really, really, really exciting, and really good acting. Obviously, we knew we were getting into with that cast, but they blew me away, both of them. So
yeah, just a very dynamic story. When you think that there's so much of a risk for that franchise to be a gimmick.
Yes,
and they're really only extending the universe, extending the story to things that matter, and I really appreciate that.
It just continues to be like the best movies that are creature features are more about the humans than they are the creature.
As always,
it's just creature features are meant to examine humanity through the lens of something like that, and that's the box that they continue to check with A Quiet Place. And so as long as they keep that in the forefront and continue to do new things that aren't derivative or just like cut and paste from something else, I'm here for it.
That's right.
All right, so let's move into number 9. Kirk, I want you to kick off this one.
Moi?
Yes. Go for it.
My number 9 spot goes to Conclave. Anyone else?
Yes.
Close for me, but not quite.
Okay.
I had Conclave at 6.
Okay. Well, I'll just tell mine. Conclave is pulsating. You had a lot of P's in your article.
I had 5 P's in the headline of my article. I was so excited about it.
It was perfect. Pulsating, beautiful, riveting. I haven't. People are dogging on Stanley Tucci for his performance as like a throwaway. I disagree vehemently. I think he's fantastic. I think Stanley Tucci is a god among us, and he is. The Walmart brand of Stanley Tucci, of course, is Mark Strong, and I think he should be cast out of Hollywood.
Just because you're bald, Kirk? Come on.
It is. Listen, and with every popular actor, there is some sort of, what do you call it, doppelganger, that someone is like trying to make money off of that look, right? And that's who they paired up against each other, that class of bald men. And Stanley Tucci is so much better.
If Mark Strong has 1,000 haters, Kirk is one of those haters. If Mark Strong has one hater, Kirk is that hater.
That's me. That's right. Tucci, you have my heart. Ray Fiennes, you have my heart. This is just a beautifully dynamic story. It's rushed at the end. That's why it's low on this list, but it's really absolutely worth watching.
Do I get to talk about it now?
Sure.
Stefano, did you say this one did not make your top 10?
No, it's
cigar.
Quite close.
Okay. I'll talk about it. Ray Fiennes, man, with my Grand Budapest poster behind me, giving me strength in this moment. I love Ray Fiennes. I thought he was beautiful in this movie. I think he always does an amazing job. I now can say that I love Edward Berger as a director. I just think, man, he is saucy as all get out, and this movie is saucy, and I just love the lens through which he decided to examine the Catholic Church. And we've seen a lot of movies about the papacy and lots of, I mean, it's been written about for hundreds of years, right? And so to take this story, obviously it's adapted from a novel, but I just think that this story really had a place on film because of the way that Edward Berger decided to approach it. And the last thing I was expecting walking into this movie is to be absolutely on the edge of my seat in the first 15 seconds. And this movie delivers that with just some really sharp directing, editing, a really sharp score. It's got a lot going for it. I expect it to do well this award cycle.
Totally. I rewatched it today because again, like what you were describing, I didn't expect it to be so engaging. And
Mhm.
I was mad when I got home because I was talking to my wife and I was like, you should have seen this with me because you would love it. So we watched it with her today. And I also wanted to check myself. Like, was I too high on this? And I was not at all. Like, like Ray Fiennes, his face, just like the way his wrinkles work, just when he's talking or taking a breath. This movie has something I noticed a lot more this time was it, and I've said this with, I never thought I would compare this to Miyazaki movies, but there are certain scenes that just like breathe a little bit, like just to
Mhm.
kind of like let the actors do something, just like open a cabinet. They're eating a lot in the cafeteria. It's like, it feels like it's such a confined space, but it also feels super naturalistic and lived in. And it's a bit peaceful as much as it is thrilling. So super like
Yeah.
this one a lot.
It's also funny just to see those men do those things.
Yeah.
Like,
The vape hit. The vape
The
hit gets
vape
me every time.
or
It's epic.
John Lithgow offering Fiennes coffee when he's
Yeah.
when he's telling him like,
yes.
weren't you supposed to get fired? Would you like a coffee?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. It's amazing.
It's great. All right, I'll give my 9 now. One that I know will have overlap with at least one person on this panel, and that is The Substance. The Substance.
The Substance is my number. I have it on the spreadsheet and it's like below. It's like not quite oriented. That is my 6.
Okay. All right. So I will cede the floor to you after a few thoughts here. But this is a movie that man, what can I say? I could see myself down the line having a much more favorable view of this than I did just after watching it, because I do feel like the time I've spent with it after I viewed it, it has really aged well, in my opinion, and has really just continued to stick with me. I mean, just from performances alone, Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley, both remarkable. This is a satire, and it's way over the top, and there's a lot of really sharp commentary involved in it. There's a lot of genuine comedy and laughs in it as well, but also just like um, it lowers your walls, and then it hits you. It hits you in so many more ways. And I think that this isn't even a movie I would say that's targeted towards me and my life experience, but it still is so applicable in so many different ways. I was very surprised by this one. And I do feel like modern satires are not always my cup of tea, and this one is very much like in that same vein as like these very like over the top satires. But this one worked. It worked for me in a lot of ways. So yeah, that's my 9, The Substance.
Yeah,
Wow.
I agree with everything you said. It's my 6 for everything you just said. And I am, like, again, you said it's not necessarily a movie made for you. And it's like, it's a pretty specific, you know, style of movie because the thing you have to lead in with, it's like, it's a body horror movie. Like, there
Yeah.
is a lot of gruesome imagery. And it's one of those ones where, like, I know in my heart, I love this movie and I want everybody to see it, but also it's hard to recommend
Yep.
because there is some gruesome imagery, but there is something in it that people can take away from it. And what makes it all work so well is it has a vision, it has a style that works. It's over the top in the sense that it matches its story, right? Like the style matches the story, matches the theming, and it all works so well. It's also, like you said, super funny, intentionally. It's not like, it's not going for laughs, but it caught me off guard a lot because, and I'm also championing it so much because it is getting this push that a movie like this would never get that kind of recognition. Like it's getting a lot of nominations from critics groups, and Demi Moore's obviously very deserving of a Best Actress nomination. So yeah, Dennis Quaid for the scumbag that he is. Also, like I bet you he had no idea. Like how does he read this script and think this matches his like life his internal life thoughts? They clearly didn't match, but I'm grateful for it because he was awesome in it. They used his is the worst parts of his face to make the movie really sing. So
I think Dennis Quaid underestimated how terrible of a Reagan he was going to be. I mean, I've not seen Substance or Reagan. I didn't see Substance because my Mubi account, my free trial has ended, and I'm not paying $45
It is expensive
to see it.
Brutal.
And then I missed Reagan, and I'm glad I did, because when he says the most infamous line of Ronald Reagan's career, it literally sounds like there's marshmallows in his mouth. Like, Dennis Quaid, you had one thing to get right, one thing,
Couldn't
and
do it.
apparently his only good efforts were in the Substance.
Yeah, that's so true, and sadly, but I think too, the last thing I'll say on the Substance that I forgot to say is like it could go wrong so many ways. The movie could, and I think that's the thing is like they didn't I can't pronounce her name, Coralie Fairchet, is that how you pronounce her last name, something like that?
Sure.
Didn't overthink anything. It was just like, what is the purpose of this element? I think a lot about the brand of the Substance, because it's a cosmetics product at its base, and the way that they branded it and the way that they presented it is genius because of its simplicity and the way that I like. There are so many things that it was just like they didn't overthink the stuff that could have been way overworked and way overthought, and that's why it works.
So is the Substance like Ozempic, like in real life? Is
yeah,
that...
I mean, it's like, yes, on a different level, but yes. Yes. All right. Who hasn't given a 9? Stefano, is that you?
Yes, that is me.
All right.
Assuming somebody has this higher on the list, so I'll let you speak to it, Kirk. Most likely,
How do you know?
My number 9 is Civil War. I'm not sure, Kirk, if you have that.
I do have that on my list.
Yes. What do you have?
I know where it's at.
With a little glimpse of my Captain America shirt here, I will say that Civil War is the number 1 movie of 2024 for me on this list.
I will let you take the floor, and I will add some color if I need to.
Oh, sure. Oh, sure. This is the best movie of 2024. It is uncontested. You can watch it and you can pick it apart all you want. You can fight how people want like an actual reason. Like, why did the Civil War start? No.
He's imitating me.
Come close. No, because you were like, hey, why did the Civil War start? The people online are like, why didn't the Civil War start?
Right.
How did it happen?
Yeah, it's semantics.
You don't need the inciting incident. The core of this is the humanity of this. We talked about A Quiet Place day 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
The core of this is the humanity. You have people firing at each other, and the journalists are saying, why are you shooting them? And the answer is because they're shooting at us. We need to kill them first. Over and over again, they go through different trials so that they are the victims of the circumstance of the government and world order at a higher level than they could ever have any power or voice in. And now their voice is right here, compacted into these pictures, these perfect pictures and articles, and being able to voice that to the people who are still there when they've lost so many people. Civil War, number 1. And you're hearing it here first. I haven't made the change, but I will make it immediately following this podcast.
Oh my!
I will be updating my top 4 on Letterboxd, which I have not done in a very long time.
Wow,
Civil War
that's
will
big
join
news.
my top 4. Yes.
I will.
Wow.
Since you more have defended the movie rather than talk about all the things you loved about it, I'll give some things I loved about it.
That's what happens in the
movie too. Yeah. Yeah. So this is one I also rewatched recently to make sure I liked it as much as I thought I did. And also, I thought my wife would like it. She was at that point in time where she was like, oh, I'm going to go to bed here in a second. And then she started the movie with me and then did not go to bed until it was over, which is a good sign. But I loved a lot of it. But the cast, I think, was something that really stuck out to me again the second time. Like the crew of characters, the 4 of them going on this road trip. Was really engaging. They all serve a purpose, right? You have, the mentor, the student, the almost like godlike figure, and then the almost like the jester of sorts. I think that's kind of talking him down too much, but the cast works so well for me. It was also shot beautifully, like for a movie. Like sometimes you'll have a movie about something and then it's bad at the thing it's about. This movie is about photojournalists, and the movie was stunning. Like it was really a beautiful movie. A lot of I love silences in movies, and this movie is full of them. Just like letting the nature be the score to a lot of the movie, a lot of earned silences. I loved it a lot. And yeah, I'm really high on this one. I have it at 9. And I think, when did this come out? April. It was in my top 5. It was close to my top 5, but yeah, one of my favorites of the year for sure.
I couldn't agree more, and that's why I have it as my 89th best. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, it's not in my top 10, and I didn't love it as much as you two did, but I love that for you. I love that for
Thank
you guys, and I did enjoy it. So good pick. We're on to number 8. I'm going to kick off this round with an animated film called The Wild Robot. I had to go with the Wild Robot, number 8. Didn't get to see this one in theaters whenever it came out. I have my nephew who may be listening to this, who loves the book and was all over me about seeing this movie because he just was like, you have to see The Wild Robot. You have to see it. You have to see it. And I was like feeling really guilty because I didn't go see it in theaters and I missed the screening when it came around. And it got so much good word of mouth. Not that I wouldn't have seen it for my nephew anyway, but the pressure to see it was overwhelming. It was mounting. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to watch this thing. And man, if it didn't just break me into a million pieces and sweep it into the dustpan and throw me away, that's it was beautiful. It's hilarious. I love the voice acting performances, in particular from Lupita Nyong'o, who continues to be one of my favorite actors living, and Pedro Pascal, who I thought was really good in this movie. Love the animation style. Love that we continue to do weird, cool things with animation because we have so much technology at our disposal. And I thought that the form of the animation style really fit the story behind this film. I think it's very, very lovely. And I was excited because I again, last year was such a strong year for animated films.
Mm-hmm.
And I love animated films. And I really wanted this year to follow suit. And I don't feel like we had that many great heavy hitters from an animated perspective. Now, I haven't seen Flow yet. And I know lots of people are gushing about that. So I'm eager to see it. But The Wild Robot is worthy of being in my top 10, and I think it really is a truly great animated movie, not just for this year, but any year that it would have released in. And I think everybody should see it. It's really well done. I skipped right over. Did anybody else have The Wild Robot on their list?
It was close for me as well.
Okay,
I think I have it at like 15, but
nice.
It was so good. And what I wasn't worried about it, but like the humor in it was so accessible for adults and kids at the same time. Like, not once did I like roll my eyes at anything, and not once was a joke like over the head of like a 7-year-old, right? In the theater. I saw it with my 5-year-old nephew, and I think I mentioned this in my Letterboxd review. But it was the final third of the movie, and he just looked at me and he's like, "I think I'm going to start crying." Like, this was the first experience that he had like crying over something that wasn't like affecting him in his life directly. It was like the first time he like cried at a movie, and it was like super impactful. It moved me for that reason and for the movie itself. Beautiful movie. Recommend it to everybody.
That's so sweet.
Well said.
I haven't seen it because I have no heart. No,
yeah, because you hate animated movies. Right?
I would see this one. It's hard. I'm telling you, it's so hard for me to start an animated movie. It's so
Kirk really he has a mental block against it, to be honest.
But I want to see it so bad. It's gonna be a movie night with the kids soon. As soon as that rental fee comes down from $20, I promise it's coming on.
Very good. Who has an 8 besides my 8 is spent? Does everybody else have an 8?
I have an 8.
I also have an 8.
All right, let's go to Kirk here for 8.
I guarantee you this is not on either of your lists.
Yes.
In your top 10.
Strange Darling.
Don't jump the gun. This one is Thelma.
Nice. Yes. I knew this was coming.
Not to be confused with Netflix's animated Thelma the Unicorn film that also came out in 2024. It's not that one. This is Thelma. This is a movie about a 90-year-old lady who gets scammed on the phone and then goes to great lengths to get her money back from the scammer. I am such a nitpicky person on comedies because comedy is very difficult to actually create. A lot of people think they can do it. John Cena likes to pretend that he's a comedian now. It's bad.
Wow, catching strays.
I thought you loved Ricky Stenicki.
We'll get to that. That's number 2 on his list.
But this movie, it's so charming. It's so funny. It's so engaging. And honestly, I can see, I've lost both of my grandmas, but I can see if they were as zany as this one, this could be someone's actual grandma that does this. I can absolutely see this. And I love it so much for that factor. Number 8 for me, Thelma. Now streaming on Hulu, and I think maybe other places too. It's so good and so accessible.
Very fun movie.
It's
Very fun.
it was super. I think this was one where like the trailer did this movie zero favors.
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
trailer was pretty brutal. It was just edited poorly and seemed so hokey, but it just wasn't. It had a lot of heart, and it was also the second movie I saw about an old person getting scammed out of money this year. Not to be confused with Jason Statham's The Beekeeper.
I did not see that coming.
So
I love. Why do things seem to come in pairs? It's like the two.
It's like Tucci and Strong, right?
Well, they always said Jason Statham is the poor man's June Squibb.
That's truer words have never been spoken, but it's like the Lee Miller thing with like Civil War and then Lee. Like they're both about photojournalists in a war,
and specifically tied to Lee. Oh gosh, what's her name?
Lee Miller.
Lee Miller. Yeah,
yeah. Like they actually reference her in
the
Civil
movie
War.
Lee and the movie.
It's
Civil
weird
War.
how that stuff happens. I don't really
freaky.
understand it.
I think
like
it's
groupthink.
I think it's on purpose. It's kind of like, I mean, how many World War II movies were there
Oh my
last
gosh!
year?
Or how about the year where it was like The Darkest Hour plus Dunkirk plus like there were so many Winston Churchill movies. It's like what is happening? Okay, Stefano, your number 8.
My number 8 is A Real Pain.
Nice.
Anyone else have that on their list?
Did not make my list.
Okay.
It did
Kirk?
not make my list, even though we spoke so highly of it.
Loved
Yes.
it. It was close.
This was one that I was like, I like to put together my top 20 video, of the year. And this one, it was mostly kind of set in stone. Like I had like the top 8 figured out. And then I saw this movie and I had to re-edit a whole bunch of stuff because I was like, I'm not going to not put this where I think it deserves to go because of this stupid video. This movie shocked me in a lot of ways. It looks like, the trailer looks like your typical, I don't know, like buddy story that, is potentially going for awards, which it is obviously, but it had so much more to it. And I didn't realize that it was going to be something so personal. Like you can get that from, the synopsis, but I didn't expect it to be such a character journey, emotional journey. And it moved me in a lot of ways because there's a lot of things I saw in those characters that I've seen in people in my life. And when something hits like the perfect spot and it, relates to your life in that way, it can really be impactful. Also super hilarious, like really funny. Eisenberg and Culkin just play off each other so well. And it seemed pretty obvious that Eisenberg just wanted Culkin for this movie. Like he was kind of made for this role because, he is who he is. Obviously there's a lot of similarities to Culkin's character in Succession, but they're different enough in a way, like they have different forms of confidence. I love a story that is just kind of like a picture in time. It's just like this couple days on this trip. That's it.
Yep.
Beginning, end, and there you go. Loved it. Made me laugh, made me cry. And it's a movie that I think I can recommend to everybody in my life because it's just one of those, like, I think everybody can kind of get something from it.
Yeah, I've already recommended it to a bunch of people. And even though it's not on my top 10, I really would like to see it get a screenplay nom.
Yes.
And I don't feel like that's been talked about enough, but it's because of that, the authenticness, like the authenticity of the characters and the experience that is just like, there's just not that many people who can take their real life experiences or some version of their real life experiences and put it into a screenplay in that way. And so I really hope that the voters of various award bodies understand that and make it happen. So great pick at number 8. Okay. Number 7, mine is spoken for. Anybody else? You guys both have number 7.
I've got an open 7 slot.
7 is alive over here.
All right. We'll pitch it to you, Kirk, since Stefano just went on A Real Pain.
Okay, great. You teased it. It's Strange Darling.
There it is. I knew it was coming.
This movie was in theaters for like a fraction of a second. They literally just dropped this in the middle of the night and said, "Go see it if you have time. You can only see it at 3 p.m. or 9 p.m. for these 4 days. Good luck." And somehow, I don't know how, I was able to convince my wife to let me go to one of these screenings. And I think me, maybe one other person, maybe two other people. It was very like no one saw this movie. But what a shame, because this movie is so intoxicating. When it comes on the screen, you have no idea what you're in for. There's no trailers for this movie at the time that the movie came out. It was very vague, and I can't even talk about it enough because it's too good to talk about all the way. I will say that it's a shot out of order film, which means that you get pieces of the story at different times. It's a linear story, but Memento style, not told backwards, but just jumbled up, and so perfectly. Sometimes there's a few movies like this out there, and they don't always stick the landing, and this really, really does. I was not bored for a moment. I was scared for most of it. I was encouraged and enamored by the story and the storytelling and the writing of the story, and shot on 35 millimeter. And I was just absolutely blown away. I love this movie.
Haven't seen it. Want
Super
to?
good. I've seen it. Not in my top 10, but very, very high on it. Super good. Agree with everything you said, Kirk. And Willa Fitzgerald was so good in the lead role. She was phenomenal. Like,
Yeah.
really blown away by it. And it's, one of my favorite performances of the year. And again, there's always, not only was it underseen, but it's also in the horror genre. So
Yeah.
I mean, no one's going to care about it. But yes, blew me away. Really good.
Yeah.
And yes, I had
Justice for
to.
horror.
Oh, good
All
pick,
right.
Kirk.
Number 7, Stefano.
All right. This one was absolutely in my top 5 before. I knew it would stay in the top 10, and I'm assuming it's on somebody's list. My number 7 is Challengers. Is this on somebody else's list?
It is. It's 3 for me.
Okay. Cam, I will let you touch on it first, and then I'll add to it.
Yeah, Challengers is such an interesting one. It is one that has absolutely stuck with me since I've seen it. I've said it before. I'm not somebody who just like is putty in Luca Guadagnino's hands. I don't always love his creative vision. I do love how committed he always is to his vision, even when it doesn't work for me. There's always something there that you can go, okay, this is what he was going for, and I probably wouldn't have done that with the story, but whatever. This one though, I loved every creative decision with it, even the ones that lots of people hate. And I mean, like, I've heard people be grouchy about the score in this movie. I've seen people be grouchy about the ending or the various plot points and the timeline and all these things. And I just was bought in, hook, line, sinker, every step of the way. I think this ensemble freaking rocks. Mike Feist, Zendaya, Josh O'Connor. Holy smokes, the chemistry is off the charts. I think the way, like, another thing people gripe about is how they shot some of the tennis scenes, and I thought it was cool. It was wacky. It was crazy, like inventive. It's a sports movie that's not a sports movie, and it works so well. I was thrilled to see that this one it got nominated for the Globes, right? I wasn't necessarily expecting that, and I would be thrilled if it got nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars. I thought recency bias was going to kill this thing, but I think it really deserves to be way up there.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, it's my 7, and like my top 10. Like, everything is a bunch of these moved back and forth, and this one was higher up, lower, but I love this so much. I think I mentioned it on the earlier episode, but it's as little of it is about sports. Like, it's one of my favorite sports movies ever.
Right.
It's just, and it's so rewatchable. It's like, I love it. It's fun. It's soap opera-ish. It's anime-ish. It's everything. It's crazy. Like the crazy gusts of wind, and a lot of the shots between characters talking, and every actor. Sometimes someone's like, oh, this actor was not bought into whatever the script was, or this actor was on another planet. Everybody was so, and Luca, the director, were so wired into each other, and it just worked perfectly, start to
Yeah,
finish.
it's like at every turn he's trying to make the boldest choice he can possibly make. And I was just like, yes, like let's go. I could not have been more surprised by this movie.
I got confused when I watched a documentary of the 1986 Challenger disaster.
Oh no.
That
Kirk.
one's not quite as funny.
Not
It's
not fun.
No gusts of winds.
Well, there were, but it's not good. Not good. All right. What was that? That was Stefano's 7.
Kirk,
Okay.
was Strange Darling your 7, Kirk?
That was my 7.
Okay.
And I had Furiosa 7.
Okay, moving
My
on.
6 is already spoken for.
Good
Conclave.
grief.
Okay, I've got a 6 available.
Go for it.
Go.
Okay, I'm gonna go with. Speaking of, I never watched an animated film. Inside Out 2.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, the forgotten film of 2024. Highly anticipated. It was this year.
It was.
Don't do this to me again.
I'm not
It was.
gaslighting you. I was remarking at you calling the highest grossing animated film of all time forgotten film. But
Listen,
that's...
Oh, hear me out. Last
It's not
year,
cool like Avatar, I think, is the most culturally irrelevant movie ever, but it made a lot of money.
listen to me.
Fair.
Last year we did this top 10, and I put Super Mario Bros. On my list. It made $1 billion before July. Listen, this movie.
Kirk almost left the podcast for that. He was like, that's it. I can't take this anymore. I'm out.
Also a $1 billion movie, Inside Out 2. I still have anxiety from this film, and even more now that you guys are trying to beat me up over this. It is one of maybe 2 franchise sequels. We've seen all the sequels in the world this year and last year and coming up next year. And this is one of like 2 that were actually made well. And I'm so happy that it was made. I have not rewatched it yet because the rewatchability is low, because it really just attacks you with the emotions. It sinks its talons into you, and it forces you to confront a lot of emotions. I love those movie therapy movies. This one is very much one of those for me, and it's just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
It's great. I really like it as well. Stefano, your number 6.
My 6 was spoken for. I was The Substance.
Okay. So we're into the top 5.
Whoa.
All right.
Well, now we're going to have an a la Brutalist intermission right here.
Yes.
You guys can take a bathroom
15
break.
minutes. We'll run the timer on the screen for the YouTube listeners. Everybody who's listening to the podcast just gets 15 minutes of dead air.
and a picture of a bridge and a cathedral.
Yeah, exactly. That'll be good. That'll be good radio and good TV. Okay. We're into the top 5. I feel like Stefano should go first on his 5.
Sure, let's go it. Let's go for it.
It's getting late.
My number 5 is also the last 2024 release I've seen this year, and that's Nosferatu. Is this on anyone else's top 10?
Yes.
It's on both of me and Kirk's.
Okay.
I have it at 2.
I also have it at number 2.
Good.
But you should go. Go, Stefano.
We're close enough. We're close.
We are.
Again, how I said, like, it's a pretty stacked lineup. I know it wasn't the strongest year for movies, but up here, I think there's a lot of interchangeability. Nosferatu, it was everything I wish for and more. I took a Slavic and vampire class in college and have a lot of like knowledge of vampires and, the original Nosferatu movie. So I was not nervous, right? I was like, if this is ever going to be remade, Robert Eggers deserves to do it because he's such a scholar of the occult. He's like a linguist, and it is a perfect movie for him. And we got, we're all very lucky to get a Robert Eggers Nosferatu movie. I know you all had a lot of good things to say about it in your review. The performances were amazing. The set design was amazing. The Nosferatu character design was awesome. His voice was incredible. I know that was like, it's like, how do you even, like, because you don't know what to expect. Obviously, you don't hear his voice in the 1922 version.
Yep.
So super impressed with it all. And also just like the way the story flows, it's a very basic Dracula vampire story. It's been told a million times, but I think what Eggers expands upon and what he, decides to keep the camera on worked in its favor. it was beautiful. I loved it. It was more gruesome than I expected, but in all the good ways. Yeah, it was. Took the whole family to go see it on Christmas. I liked it the most out of everybody, obviously, but it was a really good time. It was a packed theater. I mean, I had
Awesome.
every screening I was trying to go to was sold out. Obviously, it was in undersized auditoriums, but people seem to be excited about it at least.
Oh, that's so funny that you took your whole family. That's
Yeah, like
how did
mom,
your 5-year-old nephew like it? Did he cry just like
dude.
he was on Robot?
I don't think my
He
dad would talk to me again if I took him to go see
didn't bring the child, but he gets
Oh,
scared.
okay.
He gets scared pretty easily, but everyone else went. But yeah, it was a great time.
Yeah, I saw it today. I think it was today. You know, we're in that like post Christmas blur time warp where time doesn't exist and everything
Mhm.
is upside down. That it's already the highest grossing Robert Eggers film ever, which is
Yep.
great. And I think that one of the highest openings for a horror film. I can't remember the time frame on it. I feel like it was like second highest horror opening this year or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So to your point, lots of excitement around this movie. It did really well. We talked a lot about it on the episode in detail, so I won't belabor the point there. I think why it's number 2 for me is just that it's nothing like it's ever been done before, and it's really as simple as that. It's something that as a horror movie, as a period drama, as all of the things that it's never been done, and nobody can do it besides Robert Eggers. It's that simple. It's my favorite Robert Eggers movie. I mean, I think I would go as far as to say he's the most exciting young director that is out there. I am seated for anything he does into eternity, honestly, because he just does things the right way. It's exactly the type of movie we need to be celebrating. It's the exact type of movie that better be nominated for Best Picture come the Oscar Awards, even though I fear that it won't be. And that's why it's my number 2.
Yeah, that movie is so scary and so well done. So often my score and a lot of our scores is about rewatchability. Like, can I return to this? And I just so defiantly so proudly say that this is the best movie I will never watch again.
Dang. I'm trying to find a Dolby screening of it, but like Mufasa's been taking them all up, so I need to figure something out. I probably have to go like at 10 o'clock on a Thursday, maybe. But we'll see.
Yeah, you're gonna be in like a quiet moment of Nosferatu, and it's gonna say, "What did you say to my brother?"
my favorite part about this movie is that Kirk and I were talking about it on the way to the screening, and I was like, you know what's great about Robert Eggers is that like we don't really have to worry about being jump scared into oblivion during this movie, because like he just really lingers. He's gonna induce a lot of dread. He's gonna really make us feel the pain. And 2 minutes into the movie, there's a jump scare that almost sent me to the hospital. It was horrifying.
There was also one of the most terrifying shots in any film is the pan, it does one of these and then it comes back around. Terrifying. But also I want to shout out like that scene where Hutter arrives and he is trying to get Count Orlok to sign the like deed and all that. What a stunning scene! Like one of my maybe my favorite scene of any movie this year. Just the lighting, the weird humor, like the tone of the movie was so good.
Yeah, impossibly good shots throughout.
Yes,
Willem Dafoe delivers one of the funniest, most incredible lines in that movie.
Oh, he does. Yes, he delivers an amazing line. Sticks with you.
Do you remember it, Cam? Because your impersonation of it is perfect. It's about Isaac Newton.
I don't know that I can. Does he say, "I've seen things"? I can't do it.
That one got a good laugh.
Oh my gosh, I about
the
died.
Most incredible line ever.
I've seen things that would make Isaac Newton climb back into his mother's womb. Isn't that what he said?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. Kills me. It's the one punchline that everybody died at in the movie. So good. All right, moving on. So that was Stefano's number 5. I'll give my 5.
Okay.
We have a review of this dropping later on. We saw this a few weeks ago, and yet there still hasn't released locally, so the review's not dropping till later. I have the Brutalist at number 5. Mm-hmm. We talk about it a ton. I think Kirk does not have it on his list, but I think Stefano, you do, right?
Yes, I have it at number 2, but I'll let you take it away.
Nice. Yeah, I won't say too much about it other than this is just one of the real high quality movies that's going to have the staying power to stick with people from this year. I think when people think of the year 2024 in film, even though I don't think it's a very good year for film, this is one of the movies that will stick in people's minds from this year. It's got a lot going for it. It checks a ton of boxes, particularly as it relates to award season. It's a big, ginormous, long epic with amazing acting performances and amazing cinematography and a great score. It does so much well that like the movie is, a drama, a tragedy, but you just can't help but be like, wow, what a picture, at the end of it. So yeah, Stefano, your thoughts?
Yeah, I know I'll go, like you said, I'll go into more detail on it later. But the one thing I do want to mention, and you say it'll be remembered, like the year, like 2024's year in movies, it will be remembered. I think it is one of those movies that will stand the test of time so well.
Mhm.
It is a movie that looks like the time period, feels like the time period, but also feels like modernity, and it feels like something that would make sense and has themes that are important, that will be important 30 years down the line. It's I hate to say, like, it feels like it's almost like on the right side of history, right? Like
Mhm.
there's nothing about it that I think will date it in a way that will make it less powerful than it is now. So huge part of why I liked it so much. But yeah, that's my number 2.
What I'll take from the Brutalist is that the three of us sat in a very beautiful theater together for 3 hours, and we shared popcorn, we shared Twizzlers,
We shared laughs.
we
You
shared
know-
beers.
who didn't share anything was oh god, the guy that spilled his
I forgot about this.
this dude
I forgot about this.
spilled his candy everywhere, and then
It rolled down.
and then he
Yes.
knocked his water bottle over.
Yep,
metal
he
metal
lost-
water bottle.
He lost $75 worth of concessions
Yeah.
in a matter of moments.
Same person. I'm gonna pass out from laughing at this. Same person knocks over a metal water bottle that rolls down the theater and then unleashes a bag full of, God only knows what, mini chewy sweet tarts or something that roll down the slope of the theater.
And if you remember, he somehow caught the water bottle.
Yes.
There was silence, but then he lost it and it rolled again.
Yes. I think
It's
it hit
comedic
like,
genius.
I think
honestly.
it hit like the leg of a chair, and then it
Yeah, it plinkoed down this. Yeah. Oh man,
good
what a
grief.
time! What a
Tears.
oh,
time.
baby.
Tears of joy.
We were all sitting there like biting our lip, trying so hard not to laugh. Oh man, it was incredible.
broke the tension. It broke the tension for
It
sure.
did. It did.
Oh wow, I had actually forgotten about that, and I'm so glad to have that memory back.
Yes.
Very good.
Me too.
I've lost track of where we're at.
Uh,
My number 5.
Yep.
It is the best Christmas pageant ever.
Wow.
Whoa,
that's right.
What?
Hear me
Alright.
out. Oh,
I barely knew this movie existed, so this is
Same.
good.
now, did either of you read the book as children?
I'm familiar
I
with the
can't-
book.
I
have
can't
not
read.
read it.
Poor
I
Stefano.
forgot about that. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man, there's so many subtitles that you've never read on movies.
He's
and
gonna really
languages.
struggle with Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey next
Yeah.
year. That's gonna be a toughie.
Yeah, how did you like the Brutalist? There's a lot of subtitles in that one. The best Christmas pageant ever. It's a novel first, finally adapted into a film. Judy Greer and comedian Pete Holmes star as the parents in this, and every person in this movie is perfectly cast. Every child is perfectly cast. Every other adult is perfectly cast. It completely embodies everything that the narrative of the original book had in store. We had a chance to read this like leading right up to when we rented this on VOD. It came out on VOD the day before that we were almost done with the book, me and the family, and my wife had read it all and I was listening in and out, and it was so perfect. If you check the Rotten Tomatoes score, critics and audiences, one of the most aligned, 90% plus in its ratings. It's just so wonderful. It's hilarious. It'll bring joy. It'll bring sadness to you. There's a lot of ups and downs and unexpected dynamics of this story. So highly recommend the best Christmas pageant ever.
Nice pick. It's the "Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret" of this year. I
Yeah.
think is what it is.
It
So,
is.
yeah, nice one. Okay, we're into the top 4, and I only have 2 total movies left. So
Same.
I'm gonna kick off this one if that's okay.
Please.
I'm just gonna jump in line.
No, me.
And
Hey, listen, we have this new table. I'd like to arm wrestle you for
no,
this
not
spot.
happening. I'm just gonna do it because I've proclaimed it. My number 4, Stefano. Do you have a number 4? By the way.
Yes.
Okay, so we all
Go
have
first.
a 4. We all have a 4. My number 4 is Anora. Anybody else have this one?
Anora is my number 1.
Whoa. Okay, so I will cede the floor to you after a little bit. I will just say Anora, Sean Baker film. I'm not as well versed in the Sean Baker filmography as you gentlemen are. With he's the Florida Project, right? And then Red Rocket. I haven't seen as many of his films. Look at that.
What does he
With
got?
the visual aid, he's got a Florida Project mug. What in the world?
I'm gonna come steal it.
Unbelievable. So I was a little bit newer to the Sean Baker experience here. But man, Mikey Madison, holy smokes. What a performance. One for the ages, one that's like unbelievable. It's hard to even, it was hard for me to even fathom as it was happening. It's such a great performance, and the story is really well done. Also a very, very funny movie, and one that hits you right in the soul, and has a great, I mean, it comes together very beautifully, even though I knew kind of, I would say I vaguely knew where it was heading. I never lost interest, and I never checked out because the characters were so well done, and the story was so it was just engaging throughout. So I really like it. I've seen some mixed reviews of it. I know a lot of people love it, but for me, it's definitely way up there. I have it at 4.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Agree with everything you said, Cam. I'm a Sean Baker head, as you would say. I've loved everything he's done, and I did write a full review for this one for the podcast. So check it out, the Popcorn for Breakfast website. So most of my words will be more eloquently put together there. But what Sean Baker does so well is he will take a very niche, a very niche setting or a very niche style of life and make it into a movie. And not only will he make it into a movie, but sometimes he'll use non-professional actors, and sometimes he'll take somebody who he sees something in, like a little spark of brilliance, and will make a movie around them, like he did with Anora. When I was reading a lot about the making of this movie, and he said when he was watching, it was one of the recent Scream movies, and he saw Mikey Madison's performance in that. He was like, "Oh, okay, I'm going to make a movie with her as a lead actress because she's so good," and she was so good. She was incredible in it, and and like Red Rocket had Simon Rex, like out of nowhere,
Right.
who gave a brilliant performance in that. But like you said, the movie is so funny. It's also a very fun, oh my gosh, like time parameter of story as well. I didn't expect it to be like an overnight caper type situation.
Yeah.
And it made for such a fun, like as heavy as some of the material is, so much of it is so fun to watch. The character dynamics, there's like this kind of ragtag group of guys who are basically, work for the son of a billionaire, and it's their job to basically find him because he's gotten away. Okay. But basically all the chaos ensues from that. And it's just Anora and this group of guys. It's hilarious. It's heartfelt. It's really well filmed. All his movies are. There's such a realisticness to the way he films. It's gritty, but it's also, this one is especially polished. I would say this is finally, he's Florida Project was so successful. Red Rocket was, slightly higher budget, and like this one, it feels like he was given everything he needed to be given to make the movie he wanted. Not to say he didn't make the movies he wanted to before, but I just think he's another one of those, like Robert Eggers, where while they make totally different movies, they are telling such specific stories, and they are absolute masters at what they're trying to convey, that their movies are essentially perfect in so many ways. So yeah, Anora is my favorite movie of the year. And I think the rewatchability is pretty high. It's pretty fun. It's very funny, but yeah, love it so much. And I recommend it to everybody.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love the tidbit. Like I watched the Actors on Actors with Mikey Madison and Pamela Anderson, where she was like, Mikey Madison was like, yeah, Sean Baker saw one of my movies and wanted to cast me, and she was like, it was Scream. I was like, Scream. Yeah, I was just like assuming it was going to be like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, that just was the first thing that popped into my head.
Yeah.
And so that just cracked me up, but it just goes to show like a very specific vision that you like only some sort of creative like that can watch a movie like Scream that's totally different, and she's got this tiny part in there and be like, that's it, that's the person. It's crazy.
Yeah. Also, it was a good year for accents.
And
Mikey Madison's like accent in it, and her intonation was so good, so hilarious.
Yeah, the like Jersey accent, very good. Awesome. Kirk, you're number 4.
My number 4. Let me pull up my calculated list. How about Kneecap?
Whoa! See, I love having you on here for these because it's just gonna be I'm gonna fall out of my chair on every pick, and that's what's great about it.
That's right, Kneecap. It's a real Irish band. It's 3 gents. I thought this took place way in the past. It's 3 Irish gents living in Ireland from close, various different cultural and socioeconomic statuses, but they all came together because of their I wouldn't say love, but their passion for sure of maintaining the original Irish language. So when I heard of this movie, I was like, that sounds really cool. It sounds really interesting. And they're a band. They're a real life band, and the real life band members play themselves in this biopic of their band coming together. So like it has the ability to fail, right? Because like they're musicians first, and they're going to be playing themselves. Wrong. They are incredible, top to bottom. When you see them as themselves, that's just how authentic these 3 are. They nail their performances of themselves, kind of embodying them in this very structured script form. I'm assuming there was a lot of play involved, but it was really just magnetizing, and it's so funny and it's so endearing. And this took place in the mid 2000s when they came together, like right almost even past that, right before COVID is when they became like super big. There was lots of this is the true side of the story that you can look up. For the historical side is that there was basically laws almost wanting to prohibit the original Irish language being not being permitted to be spoken, and that it would be cast aside as their national language. And there was this fight. So these 3 guys, they decided that in their musicality, in forming a band, they would speak English, but they would also speak their native Irish tongue. And they're 2 of them are about the same age. They're like in their late teens. They're like 19 and 20 maybe. And the other guy, he's like in his late 30s, and they somehow found each other. And that journey is just absolutely phenomenal. It's a lightning strikes once kind of deal, and it is a riveting ride, hilarious, unpredictable, and again, scarily recent. I loved it. Kneecap.
That's awesome.
I watched this one pretty recently, the last couple of weeks. I really enjoyed it as well. Not my top 10, but so much to enjoy. They're so, like you were saying, they're so good in their roles playing themselves. It's almost like they knew they were going to make a movie about their lives immediately. Like it kind of felt that way.
Yes,
like, oh, this is good stuff. Shout out to there's a scene pretty early on. It's kind of the catalyst for everything, where basically one of the guys gets arrested and he's getting interrogated, and he refuses to speak English. So he pretends to not understand it. So another guy comes to like interpret what's happened, like the conversation. And it's just obviously like hilarity kind of ensues because it's a serious situation, but they know what's going on. And this guy's being a wise guy and not. So really funny stuff. Very loud movie, not for everybody.
It's very loud. It's very loud.
Like in your face. So yeah, it's good stuff.
Color me intrigued.
Yes. I actually knew
review, but
I knew of the group. I never listened to their music, but I knew of the group before the movie. So when the movie was happening, I was like, what are these guys doing?
Yeah, it's cool. I had no clue. In all my Irishness, I had no clue. And I said, well, I have to watch this. It's streaming on Netflix right now. Very, very highly recommend.
Yeah, I was going to ask where it's streaming because I feel like this is one that's not going to be on everybody's list, and that's why it's great.
Nope.
Stefano, you're number 4.
My number 4, I'm assuming is on somebody's list, is Dune Part 2.
Yes, on my list.
Where is it on your list, Cam?
Number 1.
Number 1.
Hey.
I'll let you. I'll let you take the floor after I say a couple things. I think I said it in my letterbox review, but we'll see how Messiah turns out. But it's like it's just part of this. What'll be one of the greatest sets of sci-fi movies ever made, or just movies ever made. It's just when part 1 was so good, it was kind of you couldn't think that it would be able to overcome the hype and the expectations. It kind of reminded me of the Return of the King, where there's so many fights you want to happen, there's so many speeches you want to happen, and those things happen, and you see them fleshed out. Obviously, it's the end of the Dune book, so you would hope it would come to a nice conclusion, but it's just everything I wanted and more. I know our boy Denny might get the short stick on a Best Director nomination, which would be absolutely absurd. Because I would say he could be the most deserving out of anybody this year, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean that, and he could be one of the most impressive directors. I mean, just look at the body of work speaks for itself. I mean, it's just like, and this film is, you can make a serious case that it's his masterpiece thus far in his career. Yeah. So the thing is, I love Dune, and I'm not somebody who read it when I was younger. I read it like recently because I was interested in when these movies coming out, because I like Denis and I was excited about it, and I love sci-fi, and I was like, okay, I got to check this one off the list. So I started to read it when the first movie came out, and that book is so good. And what makes this crazy is that Denis takes creative liberties with multiple things in this second part of this 2-part cinematic event, and I like all the decisions he's made, even though I love the book, because of it's the key of adaptation, and I think that's where a lot of people are getting kind of lost in the discourse on this. I've seen so many Dune fans be like, well, he changed this, that, and the other, and it's different from the book. And it's like, yes, but it's so perfect for the film. It works so well for the film. And that's the thing. Like, those two things can exist separate of one of each other. And I had so many questions coming into it, knowing how the book ends and knowing all the things that are in it. How's he going to do this? How's he going to do that? And every single question was answered with just like, wow, genius. Like, can't believe he thought to approach it in that way. Can't believe he thought to visualize it in that way. Can't believe they got it to look that good. Riding on the sandworm, the battle at the end with the atomics, like everything was just beautiful. And you know me, I feel like I feel similarly about this one as I did with Oppenheimer last year, where it was like, for me, it was such a no-brainer that I was just like, duh, that's the best movie of the year. And this one is similar for similar reasons, because not only does it do all the things that you want a good film to do, but as an entertainment property, it is epic. The scale is huge. The music is thumping. Like, we saw this in IMAX, and it was just like so intense and so amazing. So yeah, I mean, I've rewatched this movie a billion times since I got it. I love it, and it's definitely my number 1 of the year. And I can't wait for Messiah, even though, again, Denis is going to be asked to do an adaptation of a book that I don't even know how you adapt. So it's like, it's crazy. He has a huge challenge ahead of him, but the way he's knocked these first 2 out of the park, I'm so ready for it.
When that IMAX room rumbled as we mounted the sandworm with Timothée Chalamet, I was floored.
Oh man, the music,
the vibrations, the sound. I could feel the sand hitting my face because Cam brought some live sand and threw it at me.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dune Part 2.
4DX.
That's right. Can you?
I got one of the AMC popcorn buckets.
Yes.
Bro,
yes, dude.
Look at that. Oh my
It's
goodness.
collecting dust somewhere, but I'll be able to sell it for like a couple hundred eventually.
Oh, you sure will. You sure will. That's my number 3, Dune Part 2. That clears out my list. I think it should be a contender. It should not be forgotten about in all these awards. I'm a little worried that it might, but hopefully people will remember that it was this year.
I want it. I want Best Picture for it. I feel like it's dwindling, but I want it so badly. So you're done?
I'm done. That's my top 10.
I'm also stunned. I'm not gonna, bring up old stuff,
Oh yeah,
But
no.
I'm just a little stunned that this was in Kirk's top 10, given the original score he gave Dune Part 2. So I was just shocked to hear that. But
Yeah.
I'm happy, Kirk.
You know, sometimes
I'm ready for this.
Sometimes, even though a movie is not a niner, I can still appreciate it as a top 10 movie that I enjoy.
That's fair.
And that's the curiosity of Kirk.
Dude, truly, like the way that, and this is true of everything, which makes us such a funny podcasting pair in general. It's like an odd couple type movie. Like the way Kirk's mind works on this stuff, I cannot comprehend. For me, it's like whatever gets the highest score is what gets number one, and I'm going to rank them accordingly, and I'm going to look at them and like, I think me and you, Stefano, are probably wired the same way. And up front, you have no idea what's coming from Kirk in this thing. Never. He's going to keep you on your toes, and that's why I love it. I really
Absolutely.
do.
That's awesome.
Oh, thanks, guys.
It's great. It's great.
Before this podcast, you'll never believe the cruel things that they said about me.
Well, sure. Off camera, obviously.
I appreciate the kind words on camera. I'm blinking twice.
I love it. So I have none left.
None left. That is, it cleared everyone's board.
It cleared my board. Stefano has more left. And
you do?
We are
just
on
3. I just have a 3 left, and that's it.
Oh, the number 3. Okay.
Yes. No. Yes. Just a number 3. I've talked about it before. I wrote a blog on it. Check it out. Popcornforbreakfast.com. Talked about it in the top 5 earlier this year. I Saw the TV Glow.
Yeah.
This is one I've talked about it to death, like I said. But just such a unique film, such a singular vision, such a powerful story, and really well acted. Like the Justice Smith in particular, it was the physical acting, everything from him in this movie was so impressive. And again, we've talked about the horror bias where it will get criminally underappreciated from awards bodies. I will say, like the Independent Spirit Awards gave this movie a lot of love, gave Justice Smith some love. So such a unique movie, something even if it's not for everybody, I can promise you'll never see another movie like it ever again. And that goes a long way with how many people are making movies now. It's so refreshing to see something so different, and I loved it so much. So it was in my top 10, top 5 all year, and it stayed there pretty high up. So that was my number 3.
2 things about that movie. I absolutely love the "Are You Afraid of the Dark" flip on its head. Like that is the TV
awesome
show. I loved that TV show growing up, so that pulled me in so quickly to this. I'm like, ooh, like it just sent me down memory lane. And then the other thing is that I'm always enticed by Justice Smith because he can either be so bad in a movie or so good in a movie. Like he's really good in All the Bright Places with Elle Fanning. He's really good in this, and he's hilarious in Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. Those are like my top 3 of his. So he did great in this. So hopefully, being in this movie, he'll be on the track of only doing good parts. I root for him every time, and I'm like, he let me down, but not in this one.
There's one scene in this movie that I continue to think about that like is one of the most haunting things I've ever seen in a film, and it's not like overtly horror per se, but the way that it's executed is like shakes me to my core still to this day. David Lynchian is like how this film feels to me. So that's like, to your point on the like not for everybody. I think some people are going to feel real uncomfy during this one, and so that's always I may or may not be one of those people. It's a tough pill to swallow for some. So yeah, it's a very, very interesting movie in a sea of sequels and sameness and all of these other things.
For sure.
So that's our top 10s. Let's quickly recap. This is we have a couple other things we want to talk about, but I'll go first just to kind of highlight it. My number 10 was A Quiet Place Day 1. Number 9, The Substance. Number 8, The Wild Robot. Number 7, Furiosa. Number 6, Conclave. Number 5, The Brutalist. Number 4, Anora. 3, Challengers. 2, Nosferatu. And 1, Dune Part 2. Kirk.
Me. Number 10, Superman, the Christopher Reeve story. 9, Conclave. 8, Thelma. 7, Strange Darling. 6, Inside Out 2. 5, The Best Christmas Pageant Ever. 4, Kneecap. 3, Dune Part 2. 2, Nosferatu. And number 1, Civil War.
And Stefano.
10 Furiosa, 9 Civil War, 8 A Real Pain, 7 Challengers, 6 The Substance, 5 Nosferatu, 4 Dune Part 2, 3 I Saw the TV Glow, 2 The Brutalist, and number 1 Anora.
Lovely.
We should get playing cards and then hand them out to people and say, "Oh yay, I'm like Stefano." As they relate to us on the podcast.
Like trading cards.
Like trading cards.
Oh,
yes. I said playing, but I meant.
Yeah, I thought you meant like a deck of cards. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know where you were going. Now I do.
Trading cards. I want them like animated though. I don't want them to like actually be us. I want them to be like animated versions of
maybe
us.
NFTs.
NFTs. Yes, exactly.
We'll do.
I'm out.
We'll do some sort of rug pull maneuver and make a ton of money and go to jail
and roll out of the country though, and so we'll be free.
Smart. I like where this is going. I like where your head's at, Kirk. Two other things I want to drop just for funsies. We did one of these last time. We're gonna go super fast on this. First one is the one that we did whenever we did our top 5, which is worst movie we saw this year. Now here's the kicker. Last time we each named a worst movie. I said Argyle. You said Ricky Stenicki. And Stefano said, what did you say, Stefano?
Imaginary.
So we have to pick a different worst movie. I will say, though, before I pick mine, Argyle is still the very, very, very bottom of my list. Definitely the worst movie I've seen this year. But I'll say the second worst movie that I've seen this year, even though it's near and dear to my heart because it made me laugh so hard. Got to give it up to Madam Web. Madam Web, an absolute classic. I would love to rewatch it and just live it up again. Very funny movie. I laughed so many times.
The ADR was brilliant.
Oh man, it is awesome. It's almost like The Room, like where the laughs per second were extremely high in that movie.
Yes.
So that's my worst movie, Madam Web. Kirk,
I have to go. I saw a lot of bad movies.
I know you did. You love them. You live for it.
I do. I turn them on. I'm a glutton for punishment. My
Hot
top,
Frosty.
My top favorite worst movie is Atlas, starring Jennifer Lopez.
Oh, good grief!
This is her space movie, not to be confused with her music video movie,
right,
which was called "This Is Me." Now.
Did you see that one?
Which I also watched. It was worse.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's bad. It's that bad. Streaming on Netflix.
Terrible.
Check it out. Watch Atlas followed by Kneecap.
To get the full Kirk experience.
Right.
That calibrates your mind to be equal to Kirk's, and then you just start to put it all together. It's like the Winona Ryder like exploding head meme thing.
Yes.
All right, Stefano, what you got?
So this one was easy for me because if I'm looking back at a few previous years, I'm thinking of like a movie that I think is god awful, and to like layer on top of it, it also has to be a movie that like ticked me off a lot. And
Yes.
I was so jealous that you all beat up this movie a couple episodes ago because I wanted to be part of it. The future Best Picture nominee, Emilia Perez, is one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. I hate everything about it. I don't have a single good thing to say about it. I don't understand any of the praise I'm seeing for it, and that's all I have to say about it. I wrote up a bit about it on the website. This is the 10th plug, popcornforbreakfast.com. It's part of the part of the Brutalist mini review blog.
Yep.
Watch it to hate watch it, and watch it for Selena Gomez giving one of the worst performances you'll ever see.
Also streaming on Netflix.
Yeah.
Also streaming on Netflix.
One of my favorite of your reviews this year, though, I have to say, even though it was a mini review, that one coupled with your Letterboxd review, beautiful, poetic, and amazing. We went off script for like 16 minutes on an episode about Emilia Perez, totally unplanned, just because we hated it so much. So much.
I'm very glad you both watched it because it's tough to convince somebody to watch a movie you hated, and I was like, well, you have to watch it, have an opinion on it.
Yep,
absolutely. Okay, one last thing I want to do that's new this year, and we're just going to go rapid fire on this. Underrated movies people are not buzzing enough about that you think were really, really good. We can just go rapid fire. You don't necessarily have to explain it unless you want to.
Multiple movies?
It can be.
Okay.
I'm going to give one. Blink Twice. I thought Blink Twice was really good. Great directorial debut for Zoe Kravitz. I wrote up a blog for it on our website, and I just think there's a lot there to really like. Not perfect. It's definitely has its bumps and bruises, but it's worth the watch. Anybody else?
Beautiful. I've got 3.
Go.
Good, because I have 3 too.
Perfect. I'm going to go Snack Shack.
Okay.
Streaming on Prime Video. Hilarious, fun, coming-of-age comedy. I'm going to go DD. Streaming on Peacock, I believe.
Good stuff.
Just wonderful millennial clickbait. It's perfect. It really is. And then I'm going to go also back to Prime, Roadhouse with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Wow.
Because listen, that movie is fun. I had a good time.
Sweet. I'm going to also give 3. A Different Man with Sebastian Stan. I was lucky enough to see this for the short period of time it was out. Blew me away. Really, really good. Funny, so odd. Really good stuff. Heretic, the recent thriller with Hugh Grant. Big yawn from Kirk.
No, it's just midnight.
They're not supposed to know what time we're filming.
Oh, no.
Heretic, really good. And one of the biggest surprises of the year for me is Caddo Lake. It's a Max original with, oh my gosh, I can't Elizabeth Scanlon.
And Dylan O'Brien.
Yes. It like, I'm a glutton for like movies that are time-based and really, really good stuff. Totally blew me away. I recommend it. It's streaming on Max if you haven't seen it.
I have 2 bonus ones since you guys both gave 3. I'm going
to
give 3 as well. The First Omen. You the first.
Yes,
Omen.
That was going to be the other one I gave.
We'll go back to horror. One of the best leading lady performances of the year, without a doubt.
Minus Jennifer Lopez and Atlas, of course.
Yeah, well, I mean, that goes without saying. And then my other one, I'm going to go Transformers 1.
Hey.
Another animated movie that really surprised me, had way more fun with it than I ever expected. And I'll just say this to toot my own horn. It just further cements a point that I've always made, which is that Transformers is an animated thing. Stop trying to make live action movies. Even at their absolute best, they'll never be as good as a good animated Transformers movie. It's about robots that transform into vehicles.
Yes.
So let's not overcomplicate it and overthink it. This is for kids, and let's have fun with it. And I thought Transformers 1 really knocked that out of the park. So kudos to them.
But I will be seated in 35 years when they reboot this and Shia LaBeouf voices Optimus Prime.
Wow, full circle moment for there. Michael Bay comes back. Yeah, I'm for it. All right, so there it is. 2024, a year in movies. We had a lot of fun talking about this for about almost an hour and a half now. So hope you guys enjoyed it as well. Always one of the best episodes that we do the whole time. And it has been a great year for this podcast. We've gotten tons of new subscribers on YouTube, tons of new downloads on our podcast feed. So we just want to give a huge thank you to all of you, whether this is your first episode watching or you've been with us since day one. We could not and would not do it without you. We love doing this and having a good time. Also want to thank Stefano for his contributions to the podcast this year, which were magnificent. Some truly great blogs that if you haven't read yet, you absolutely should. And then there is a whole litany of other people that we want to thank. You know who you are, from super loyal fans of this podcast, as well as our fellow critics in the St. Louis Film Critics Association that we get to graciously rub elbows with every single week at screenings. We're super happy to be there. Our wives who allow us to do this and allow us to go to screenings at 7 p.m. on a Tuesday, like every week, which has been like an absolute dream come true. Mm-hmm. And of course, our sponsor, St. Louis Area Smoothie Kings, our executive producer, Ryan, and so many others that I'm definitely forgetting, but it's been an amazing year. 2025 is going to be our best year yet, though. So stay tuned. We've got more reviews coming your way. We've got more movie news coming your way. It's going to be our biggest year yet. So be sure to spread the word. Be sure to talk with us in Discord or any of our comment sections on any of our social media posts or YouTube videos.
Cameron's phone number is 61.
I will happily share that with you. You can access us via Discord whenever you want to talk about movies. We're always available to chat. We love to chat movies, so it's a good time. But otherwise, thank you, gentlemen, for being here. Stefano, we'll see you on an episode very soon. So thank you for joining us.
Yep. Thank you for having me.
Anytime. And we will leave it at that. Thank you all, and Happy New Year.
Talk to you later.